Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Gilda Hilaire, and I am the Senior Product Marketing Manager over at Salesforce. Today, I have the pleasure of sitting with some of my favorite Salesforce Marketing Cloud SMEs. Guys, will give me 1 second. Sitting with some of my favorite Salesforce Marketing Cloud SMEs. If you guys can see my screen, I'm supposed to have a. Can you guys see my screen?
Couldn't, it just went away.
Just went back to desktop.
Oh, I don't know what happened.
Technical difficulties.
Technical difficulties always when you're doing a live webinar, but I will pull it up shortly. But today I have the pleasure of sitting again with some of my favorite Salesforce Marketing Cloud SMEs. What I'd like to do is go around and have everybody do a brief introduction. Just give us your name, company, and just a little tidbit, fun fact about you. But let's be brief because we have a lot to discuss. We'll start off with Elliot.
Helps if I go on mute. Hi, my name's Elliot. A bit about me, I've been working with Salesforce Marketing Cloud for almost a decade now. I'm actually a 5-time Salesforce MVP, or minimum viable product, I think it stands for. Something like that anyway. So written books on Marketing Cloud, including the AMScript guide, which I co-authored with Adam Spriggs, and regularly post Marketing Cloud tips to my blog at mc.chat. If you haven't seen it, go and check it out.
And then Cameron.
Perfect. Hi all, my name is Cameron. I'm from Brisbane. I'm the head of technology for Datarati, a marketing cloud implementation partner in Australia. I've been in the Salesforce ecosystem for about 5 years now. I'd also have a personal blog, contribute to the How to SFMC community, and also contribute videos to the Implementation Guru YouTube video channel.
Perfect. Marcus.
Hi, my name is Marcus. I'm working for a Salesforce partner, a platinum partner in Europe, and I also regularly contribute to the community via my blog, marcus.codes, and I mainly focus on technical topics that are marketing cloud focused, but also cover some cross-cloud topics.
And Jason, and then last, Jenna, you can go.
Jason Court, lead application engineer for the Salesforce Marketing Cloud here at the Co-op in the UK. One of the admins of the howtosfmc.com community and regularly participate in our, twice a month community conversations.
And Jenna.
Hello, I'm Jenna Matson. I am a Salesforce Marketing Cloud engineer at DEG. I am also a Marketing Cloud champion and a co-founder of How to SFMC, along with Jason on the call here today.
Thank you for that. And what you guys see here is we have a couple of other members from the panel who attended this morning's session who weren't able to attend, but I just wanted to give them a shout out. Greg Gifford, Corinna Cohan, and Tony, as well as Adam Spriggs. So let us get started. I'm going to stop sharing because you guys don't want to see me. You guys want to see our experts, and I don't know what is going on. I'm having technical difficulties again, but that's fine. So let us get started, and I am going to throw a curveball question. We actually didn't answer this morning, but what the heck, we're about to have some really good conversation here. Hyperforce. I actually would love to get all of your thoughts about Hyperforce. And even if you haven't played around with it, because it's brand new, I'm sure you haven't, but what are your thoughts on Hyperforce?
Sure, I can take that. Hyperforce, Salesforce has been vague as always. I mean, we don't know the finer detail. In fact, we don't know any detail about what Hyperforce is and how it applies to Marketing Cloud. However, here's my take. I mean, Marketing Cloud currently uses private data centers in Las Vegas, Atlanta, and Stack 50 in Frankfurt, Germany. And there's always an issue regarding data residency. That is, for other countries, specifically, data residency refers to that data storage in their local country or geography, like Australia. At Dreamforce last year, Salesforce announced a partnership with Microsoft where Marketing Cloud will be hosted on Azure. And when you consider that Microsoft Azure currently has over 60 regions worldwide, which is available in 160, 140, I think, different countries, then I guess this hints at what we can expect to see in the near future. I know that Salesforce Marketing Cloud engineering team are working closely with Microsoft on this. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out and if my suspicions are correct.
I definitely agree. I think we all are, myself included, just anxiously waiting to see, what this is all about. I forgot to mention for those who have joined us, if you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question chat window in your GoToWebinar control panel. So the next big thing that launched earlier this year, and I know a lot of you used it, I think it launched in March, but correct me if I'm wrong, is interactive email. Share with the audience your thoughts, your feedback, and do you guys think their improvements are necessary for 2021 when it comes to interactive email, and what should some of our attendees be thinking about when it comes to this?
Yeah, I think it's been a really big year for interactive email, and a lot of work has gone into it already, and just in the last 9 months. I think Mark and the old Rebel Force team have done a great job trying to make it more accessible to developers rather than just here's a drag and drop block, off you go. There's lots of content that Mark and the team put together around making it more available to engineering type individuals to get more out of the functionality. And I really hope that as we roll into next year, we start getting some of the API endpoints made available to us to start doing more interesting things, and actually just make it a bit more available to developers rather than just using it as a drag and drop kind of block.
Yeah, I think the launch was good for it. I think it did lower the barrier to entry for a lot of people to make some cool emails. Of course, it didn't actually introduce new functionality technically. You could always do those kinds of functions using CSS and things, but it really lowered that barrier from a really experienced web dev email designer to a drag and drop box. But of course, by making it so packaged and easy, it did remove some of that customization. And just like Jason mentioned, it's getting a lot better now. I did have a play with it back in its early days, but unfortunately the limitations of it for certain design reasons were making it a little bit prohibitive to use, but it's great to see that the devs have taken that on board and tried to make it more accessible to the web devs to then make those modules more custom, which gives you more control over that content. So it's great to see it evolve. I'm looking forward to see what happens in 2021.
I think AMP's going to play a part. Google AMP will play a part in the interactive web forms in 2021. That's my bold prediction. I think we're going to see some sort of a combination of the teams there and of the functionality. There's a lot of exciting things happening in both of those areas, but like I'm going to echo Jason and Cameron's sentiment here, and a lot of the Rebel Mail functionality that if you had worked with the Rebel Mail platform or the Rebel tool before its purchase from Salesforce Marketing Cloud, you would find your capabilities pretty limited from a dev standpoint or from an engineering standpoint. However, it did make it, like you guys were saying, more accessible for the average marketer and to get their kind of toes wet and kind of dip their feet in to see what the water is like in the interactive email world.
Yeah, I'll expand on that, what Jenna was saying. And she hinted about AMP for email support coming next year, which was announced at AMP Fest, actually. For those of you unfamiliar with AMP, so AMP is a framework initially developed by Google, and 2 years ago they expanded it to include AMP for email. and for email enables you to create some very rich interactive content, which can be broadly categorized in 3 areas. So first is dynamic content, that is retrieving text and images in real time and when the email is opened. The second is dynamic forms, that is, while you can do this with interactive email today, the form capabilities in AMP for email takes it to a different level where you can make a post request, that is submit form data right from your email and return a response back to the email and display it without directing them to a web page. And the third is additional CSS support. So you can create some really rich interactive experiences and even introduce animations into your email. This is coming, and I believe it's kind of slated for early next year, but pay attention to that forward-looking statement and make your purchasing decisions on products and services that are already available. This is
off by heart, Elliot. Very nicely done.
Yeah.
It's really a game changer, I think, and I can't wait to start using it.
It sounds like you guys all agree that this was a game changer for the community.
Mm-hmm.
So
Definitely in the Marketing Cloud world.
In the Marketing Cloud world, in its current form, it really relates to integrating forms directly into your email. But AMP for email is going to take that to a completely different level.
Mm-hmm.
And the great thing that we are seeing with that feature is that there's a lot more focus on business users, because these new features all focus on having something that's usable from the interface. So it brings smaller customers the possibility to use enhanced features. So that's something that's a lot of features that we are going to talk about show that marketing goes in that direction.
Any big ahas, like when you guys started using interactive email, were there any anything that roadblocks that you faced, and any workarounds that you had to use, or is it as easy as folks would expect it to be?
It is definitely drag and drop, but just like all drag and drop things, you are limited by the drag and drop pre-designed features, just like the templates and the pre-canned email designs that come with Marketing Cloud. They're great. If you want to get in, get started, have a go, they're great. The moment you want to change how that little Facebook and Twitter and Instagram logo sits, you want to change the font, you want to change the alignment, you want to change things, then the pre-canned stuff isn't so great. So there is some workarounds you have to build in. Unfortunately, those blocks were very locked off, as Jason mentioned, very, very locked off to start with. They're getting better. So for those engineers or devs who want to jump in and have some fun with those blocks, you definitely have more access now to it. But for the marketers on the call, it's very accessible. Jump in, have a look, do a test send. Send yourself a little survey, like a Google form kind of survey. Send it to yourself, have a go. It's worth playing around with.
When I say drag and drop, that always scares me. So I didn't want to say it, but I'm glad one of our experts said drag and drop, and it's easy.
Clicks, not codes. Sorry, clicks, not codes.
I'm going to bounce around a bit because, Elliot, you mentioned Google AMP. We have a question from Jeremy Kraft. Doesn't Google AMP give users far less control over the fallback content for other dominant email clients? If AMP is widely adopted, do you see the user experience for other email clients being affected?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, and just to explain how the technology works, so it's an additional MIME type that's included in your email. So just today, you have a couple of different MIME types, right? So you've got HTML, and you have to create a fallback version, your text version, for clients or devices that don't support HTML, like an Apple Watch, for example. And it's the same with AMP. So within, I know this because I'm on the pilot, but there's an additional tab, an AMP tab, where you paste your AMP code. And on a side note, I think it's important to explain that this is really for developers. That there's no
drag and drop.
And that's because you can't represent that code in a UI. But you have to. So you have to create two emails, your AMP version and your HTML version. Having said that, and it will automatically fall back to HTML and display that just like it does for the text version. Having said that, I must say that having built several AMP for emails now, that I actually find the it provides this rapid application framework. It's a lot quicker to go and build these AMP emails, actually in a fraction of the time that it would take to go and build an HTML newsletter with tables. And that's because it's just, you don't have to go and test it in 65 different user agents. You know, it's certainly kind of more reliable in that you don't have to accommodate for you know, Microsoft insert MSO tags and support for different CSS classes.
Yeah, but as far as the user adoption, as for the other email clients, a lot of other email clients are already starting to support the MIME type. Outlook supports the MIME type already. They expect other email clients to support the MIME type. So the fallback use cases will be less and less as more adoption rolls out.
To clarify that, so Outlook doesn't. Outlook.com used to. They withdrew that support. It was a public beta or kind of developer preview enabled by default, turned off in October. Microsoft's word, they're waiting to go and see what adoption looks like. So today it's supported in Gmail, Yahoo Mail, and Mail.ru, a Russian one, on Chrome, Safari, and Firefox. So not Microsoft Edge.
Oh, it's not in Microsoft.com?
Sorry?
Or in Outlook.com? 360.
Yeah, so if you go to that was removed from the AMP for email website in
okay, got you.
And, they've updated their documentation to say that it's not supported anymore, but we expect that it will be in the future. Coincidentally, of course, this is Microsoft. They're building their own AMP style technology. They have to have their own proprietary everything. So,
and I don't want to spend too much time on AMP because we will have sessions at the start of the year to dive into it. But it's still good to share a little some knowledge on what to expect in 2021.
Of course.
So thank you for that. The next feature that had a lot of updates made to it, and I know several of you have used them. So Journey Builder. And I recall being part of, when I was a customer, being part of the group that was testing it out and making sure it worked the way it's supposed to work. And that was years ago. But lately, this year, I know there are a couple of updates made to it, such as Path Optimizer, Pause and Resume Journeys, mark as your favorite, transactional sending, behavioral triggers, one that we spoke about earlier, find and remove contact, and single send. I'd love to hear your thoughts on some of the improvements made this year with Journey Builder. And, what do you think the future should hold for Journey Builder? And if you run into any issues, please feel free to share that as well, because this is what we're here to do, is have a real talk, share your feedbacks, recommendations with our attendees.
So Journey Builder is definitely one of the tools where a lot of effort is going in. So we have been, we've seen a lot of great improvements. Some of my favorites are the behavioral triggers, especially if you have a larger marketing cloud instance with a couple of business units and you want to get going with an Einstein setup and the recommendations for cart abandonment, browser abandonment, and so on. It has been quite a process to get that going, because you needed to engage Salesforce services, and as there was a lot of demand for that feature, the pipeline was pretty full, and you had to wait a couple of weeks to get it provisioned. And now you can just set it up in like 15 minutes from the interface, and that's really great. The thing is, now you aren't that flexible with the content block, because previously it was just developed on your own, but now you have standard block that works with that. But if you have a look at it, it's pretty flexible as well, because there's an API you can access then, and using AMP script you can build a lot of functionality, and the extensibility is also great. because you don't need to add things to the import that's going to Marketing Cloud, because you just have it there via the API. So that's definitely one of my favorite features that has been added, along with the transactional send journeys, because now there's a user interface where you can manage your transactional messages that utilize the new transactional messaging API, which is very fast and super message wise. It's also cheaper. So that's great, because a lot of customers didn't use that feature because it wasn't configurable via the interface, and marketers couldn't switch out the emails and update them. But yeah, now that it's possible, that's a great addition. So I love that features.
I like one that Gilda didn't mention, that's the ability to pause a journey and restart a journey now. And I know that was brought on from our COVID situation. So good things do come out of bad situations sometimes, and that one is just proof of it. But yeah, that capability has been requested for a long time from a lot of my clients, and we've had to write a lot of different programs and automations to be able to pause journeys and restart them in times like events that should happen, or more sensitive time periods, things like that. So that capability is really nice.
And my favorite feature, one of the new ones, is the ability to go and find and eject or delete a contact within a journey. So while that ability has been available for, I think it was introduced last year, at least through the API, there's now in recent release an interface for it. And I was working, I remember a few years ago, with a pet hospital in the US. And they had customers who call up saying, please stop sending me these emails, my pet's died. This is really distressing for me. And you have to say, well, we can't, you're in a journey. When you come out the other end, then you'll stop getting the emails. Of course, you can unsubscribe, but that's kind of undesirable. So yeah, that's actually a very handy feature.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's something that has bugged me for a while, and I'm sure all of us have built our own API-based solutions to, on the off chance you need to get someone out quickly, you can do it. For me, the big game changer this year was Path Optimizer. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's had to build an A/B testing engine of their own to support Journey Builder sending. I am very grateful to not have that support overhead anymore. It's having it nice and straightforward to use within the platform itself is a massive win, and the fact that you can manually win a pick is a nice addition, because obviously you don't have your third party transactional or your direct transactional data or any other additional data points you might use to determine who's actually won, because email is really important, but it is only part of the journey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nice. To add to, I agree with what everyone else has said so far, but to add to that, as nice to have features, and I mentioned this in the previous call, but I like the interface now. It's a lot cleaner. They've really done some polish on that interface. And folders, I'm an organization person, so folders, oh, so good. Great improvement. The ability to not have 3 pages of journeys to every time have to navigate through and get to your 3rd page journey. Just small life improvement benefits. So I really enjoyed that interface change. To answer one of the questions too from one of the attendees regarding single sends and the functionality, which is a big one.
Yeah.
That's, I think, what's going to come up. But
can you guys speak a little bit about that? I think earlier today we had a question about what's the difference between a single send journey, right, and just a guided send or a regular send.
Yeah, user initiated send from Email Studio.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about timing and batch time. In my perspective, if you're going to do a small volume send, then the single send journeys are great, because the send mechanism is a little bit slower in Journey Builder than it is out of Email Studio. If you're going to do a large batch volume of emails, then I still recommend using a user initiated send out of Email Studio rather than a single send journey. And to our folks at Salesforce Marketing Cloud, can we rename that, please? Single sends is just a step, not really a journey.
I mean,
To add to that,
to
Jenna,
me,
as well, the single send, you're absolutely right. It does have some limitations, but I think we all agree that a lot of love and attention is going to Journey Builder, and I
Yeah.
think that we may see not a deprecation, but definitely a lessening of love for the old guided sends and the old single sends, especially
think
the
we're
new
already
functions
seeing
like
that.
the Journey Builder integration with Google 360 and a whole lot of functions you actually have to kind of manually add to single sends. But if you do the journey sends through the single send journeys, you actually can get those all plugged in automatically. So do have a look at that function. It is very prohibitive, of course, it's for a single send. And journeys, of course, give you so much more flexibility. But to send an email, to have that tracking attached, have a cool reporting that comes through if you have the GA360 connector. There's so many cool little add-ons. And I think that's going to be where Marketing Cloud starts to pivot towards. We may see less love for the old exact target format single send.
Oh, we're going to see less love. We've already been seeing less love. There's definitely a trend. I think we're going to see Journey Builder, like Karina was saying this morning, eat.
And to me, I guess the main benefit of using single send journeys is that you don't have to learn how to go and send an email in 2 different applications. Oh, this is how you go and do it in Email Studio, and this is how you go and do it in Journey Builder. You know, from a usability point of view, it kind of makes sense to do everything in one place. And yeah, I hope to see that they address some of those limitations, particularly around Salesforce audiences. So how you can go and select a Salesforce report or campaign, and filter on campaign members. You can't do that in a single send journey at the moment, I don't believe.
Yeah, that's correct. But a benefit of the single send journeys in regards to a cross-cloud environment is having the tracking capabilities for the individual email results without having to use a data extension that's within the Salesforce data extensions folder. So one thing less to think about when doing send.
Yeah, I think that standardization of ways of working is a big thing. One of the joys and the frustrations of Marketing Cloud is there's often 10, 12 ways of doing one thing. The London User Group, there's a running total of about 12 ways of getting data into Salesforce Marketing Cloud. And I think we're up to about 8 or 9 different ways of sending an email. So from training and getting people onboarded into Marketing Cloud, having a single way of doing things is going to be a massive, flattening of that learning curve.
Definitely. I'd love to jump into on one thing that I think was mentioned on the first call that we haven't touched on yet, which is workarounds in Journey Builder. And there's one question that I think is worth sharing with the attendees on this call as well. There are definitely some known limitations, and if anyone else on the call has that link to Adam's known issues repository, I know that was in the previous meeting. I think it'd be great to reshare
send it out
to the group
afterwards.
as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, it's a fantastic resource that Adam's put together that shows all the known issues, and there are a handful. But with those issues, there are workarounds, of course, and the people on the call, particularly the ones on your screen, are the ones who have probably been spearheading and trailblazing some of these workarounds. If you have got problems with Journey Builder, do stick it into the questions. We'll try and get through them as we go through this chat today. But there are different limitations, but they should not discourage you from trying the Journey Builder app. It's a fantastic part of the platform that everyone's got access to. Definitely worth playing with.
Yeah, and just because I was saying the limitations about the batch send shouldn't discourage you from using Journey Builder at all. There are some limitations, like I said, around that single send batch send, but it will come along, and they are working on that and to make it a little bit faster. Like the guys were saying, Journey Builder, because of its capabilities with the contact model and its integrations with Salesforce.com and the connector and all that, it's just a better tool to use.
And another thing that we didn't cover yet for Journey Builder is the bunch of Einstein editions that we had, like send time optimization and all that stuff, because that's something that really adds another layer to your journeys, because they're more intelligent with just one drag and drop. So you can segment your audience, you can send at the right time, and now it's not only available for email sends, so it's also available for push. So that's really a great addition to the tool, to the entire tool.
Yeah, STO is actually one of my favorite activities, and I think that that's now available for single send journeys, isn't it?
It is. That's what I was just going to mention too. Yeah. Yeah, it's available in the single sun journey in Journey Builder. So there's benefit for using that tool again.
We have one question, and I know, apologies for the flip-flop, but I want to address it since we're on the topic of Journey Builder. Do you know why exit criteria in a Journey Builder doesn't include Journey Builder, doesn't include journey data, so that you can use attribute to attribute comparison? Any of you run into this?
It uses contact data.
I can't think of a use case why you'd want to use journey data. I mean, you know, that journey data never changes. It's a kind of a snapshot when they admit into the journey.
Yeah, it's actually, I'll build on Elliot's comment there. Exactly right. Journey data is a snapshot at time of entry. It doesn't change. That's it. That's your row. It's done, locked in. The contact data in the contact builder, that's what changes. And for that reason, if you were to have a change in that data, such as a purchase or a card abandonment or otherwise, that would be the criteria you'd use to eject someone from a journey.
So I think you guys said a keyword, snapshot data. Can you be a little bit more specific on that?
Sure. So
some people off.
Yeah, so when a contact is admitted to a journey, that what's called journey data is stored in memory. And there's actually a really good explanation about this if you go into journey settings, and it explains the difference between contact data and journey data. But it accompanies that contact as they move through the journey and never changes. Even if you are up to update the event source data extension, it's in memory. It just persists. Whereas contact data is, as Cameron explained, it's evaluated, whenever that contact reaches a decision-split activity or an exit criteria, which is evaluated at midnight Mountain Standard Time, or when they come off a wait period.
So you would report back on the contact data, not on the journey data itself. So if you wanted to do an attribute to attribute comparison, you can compare the attribute from the contact data to whatever you're trying to compare with.
And we have a couple more questions, but I will hold them off. Thank you to our attendees for submitting. I think you guys opened up the floodgates, and that's why we're here. We have the who's who, the experts, my marketing cloud superheroes. So I really appreciate all the questions that we're getting. We're going to jump ship for a bit, but we will get back to your questions. So please keep them coming. The new cloud, not that Cloud Pages is new, but there was a recent release where the Cloud Page experience is new. If you have used this at all, I would love for you to share your insights on this new Cloud Page experience. I know earlier today we had a conversation about that, and there were a couple of thumbs up and thumbs down. So please share with us what your take is on the new Cloud Page experience.
Sure. I mean, from memory, it's not so new. It was released last June, I think.
Right. It's not so new.
Yeah, it was last year. But we haven't seen any significant enhancements, and there's been very little differences to the current Cloud Pages experience, except the removal of the classic editor. Although I did observe that just in the last release, they provided the ability to insert code resources into a page. That's inserting that Cloud Pages URL AMP script function when you drag out that widget that's docked on the left-hand side. That definitely wasn't there a couple of months ago, but is now. So I just love to see more effort around making this application more developer-centric, which included providing an API for publishing pages, and staging and debug mode, and also, more importantly, support for templates, just like emails. After all, this is using Content Builder. I just don't understand why you can't go and create templates for Cloud Pages. Bizarre.
I agree with everything Elliot said, and I want to echo that. Totally bizarre. And It seems to be slower. The new cloud pages seems to be a little bit slower than the old cloud pages. It's taking longer to propagate on the backend server, so that publishing time, whenever you do have to republish and everything, is taking a little bit longer. We have some workarounds by using like a Google Drive or an external server to host your code on, and then do an HTTP GET, to scrape it with, and that way you can get around the republishing functionality. But it does take a little bit longer to test your cloud pages now than it used to if you're using that native built-in publish functionality. Something I like though is being able to apply an SSL cert on the fly without having to create a new page. You can now go into the properties pane and change your certifications or your URL without having to create a totally new subdomain.
Yeah, that's especially interesting.
Go on, Marcus.
Sorry, go ahead.
So it could be really nice to do that with an API. If you've got 70 odd cloud pages, to just say, bang, there's a script, job done, not having to go through each one of them one at a time. That would be what I would want.
That'll be a nice self-service edition when that feature comes out early next year.
Early next year.
Forward-looking statement.
Forward-looking statement. Forward-looking
predictions for 2021.
Right. What about Customer 360 audiences? Anything you guys want to add around that?
Has anybody gotten to use it yet? I've been priced out.
I haven't got to use it. I mean, I've been monitoring it very closely and paying attention, reading all the documentation, as I have been with the CDP market over the past couple of years. And I think it's important to firstly understand, because there's a lot of kind of confusion, what is this thing? Well, what's a CDP? And I explain a CDP as a database for marketers that enables a single customer view across all data sources, like including structured, semi-structured, and unstructured data. Because the barrier that marketers are facing today is data. So while this data exists, it's very fragmented. It resides in the CRM, maybe a point of sale system, web data system, in another system, and so on. So the ability to orchestrate this data and provide a holistic or individual single customer view is challenging. And it can be argued that, well, you can already do this today in Automation Studio. We can go and have ETL activities and queries where database administrator can literally knock themselves out and kind of go for broke. But the problem here is that while SQL is an extensive and declarative language, it's not the lingua franca of marketers. It's a specialist discipline. Additionally, while many people use Marketing Cloud as effectively a data warehouse, they bring everything in, and I've seen people try and store hundreds of millions, even billions of records and data extensions. Marketing Cloud is not designed to process or store voluminous data or big data. So Customer 360 Audiences really addresses these paradigms and puts the data back in the hands of marketers right where it belongs. So I'm kind of really excited to see Salesforce's kind of embracing or I guess recognizing this challenge and addressing it through Customer 360 Audiences. And also I think that this race to go and build a CDP has been driven in part by every single RFP that I've seen, and probably Salesforce have too, has a CDP checkbox. So it's definitely what the market trend and what people are asking for.
It does look really exciting. The pricing model is a little bit. I don't think it's quite accessible for a lot of businesses quite yet. Jason mentioned something this morning, and I'm going to steal it, Jason, unless you speak up right now. For an existing Marketing Cloud user with a lot of data, it's going to be very hard to migrate into or to put all your data into and begin using. But for starting a new customer, I could see them buying onto it pretty quickly.
But an ESP migration is challenging enough at the best of times. Throwing in your entire customer data into a complete shift if you don't necessarily need to, because you've spent 5-6 years refining it and getting it to the way that it works, the way you want it to. Yeah, the barrier to entry is probably a bit prohibitive for those who are well established. And I think the pricing is a bit high for someone who's looking to move into the Salesforce ecosystem. But I think the opportunities it presents are pretty substantial. Just needs to be pitched at the right level to the right people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of additional observations is that, so firstly, you know, you've got this notion of Marketing Cloud bundles for Email Studio and Mobile Studio, and I think even Social too, that goes and creates all those automations and data extensions when enabled to kind of save time. But I acknowledge that there's still a lot of heavy lifting that needs to be done. It's not just turn it on. And also, I'm actually delighted to see that this audience uses the new Salesforce consent management objects, you know, which Salesforce have been quietly rolling out over the past 2 years, started with the individual object, right up in the current release, and we've got 18 of them now. Where you're not charged for storage, which is kind of revolutionary for Salesforce, and it maps, you know, things like the subscriber key to the party ID and the contact point email object, and many others. So, you know, this is really essential for managing consent at an individual level, and having an identity of who a person actually is, because we've got this big problem in Marketing Cloud today is that you know, a lead comes through from Sales Cloud. That's great. It creates a subscriber, and then that lead converts to a contact, or we create another subscriber and contact. You know, one with a 00. So now they exist twice. One when they're 00Q prefix, when they're a lead, and now a 003 prefix. Now they're a contact. And so, you know, this Customer 360 audiences kind of will go and unify that back to an individual.
So speaking of Customer 360 data, Lilia has a question. She's Customer 360 Data Manager. A lot of documentation says that it can only be used with person accounts, but she's heard that there's a way of using it with contacts only. Have any of you seen any examples of such uses?
Well, just to clarify, we're talking about two different things here. Customer 360 Data Manager is free and it's available on request. It's very different from Customer 360 Audiences, which is a CDP platform. Customer 360 Data is more about identity resolution and mapping tools. So, but to answer her question, no, I haven't really used Customer 360 Data Manager yet.
Thank you for that. We will answer some additional questions. Right. Hey, Jeremy, I just saw your question. We will answer that momentarily. One more. What about Interaction Studio? Were there any releases that caught your, not that it's new, but was there any releases from this year that caught your attention? Any of you use Interaction Studio?
IS is new and not new. It is kind of new, but it's also not new. It looks amazing. I've also been kind of priced out from being able to access it a few times. It looks amazing. Some of the functions, particularly the ability to see what your customers are doing across websites, interactions, across your various digital platforms, is groundbreaking for Marketing Cloud. Some other vendors have had similar products to tie all those amazing features and some decision making and put that all into a single platform. That's game changing. You would have to cobble together some really backyard code to make that work previously, and to now have this in one platform is phenomenal.
Yeah, I've been using Interaction. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I've been using Interaction Studio actually for the past few weeks. That's the new Evergage. You know, previously they're using Thunderhead. It was kind of white labeled. And so, you know, while Interaction Studio is new to Salesforce Marketing Cloud, Evergage is. And I'm really impressed by the capabilities of the platform. You know, provides these real-time personalization capabilities for your website. I guess kind of one main difference and observation is that in order to implement and architect, you really need to know JavaScript. And I'm not talking about server-side JavaScript. We're talking about ECMAScript 6. You need to understand the concepts of promises and object maps, which are kind of integral to a sitemap, which is this you know, JavaScript file that everything is built on. So I'd say that it might be outside of the kind of knowledge level of most existing marketing cloud customers, and maybe even some partners too. So it's kind of essential that you work with a qualified partner to implement it. Really today, however, Interaction Studio, while it's kind of impressive on its own, it's still quite separate to Marketing Cloud. And I'd like to see much deeper integration into Journey Builder, so I can go and activate audiences from Interaction Studio and inject them into a journey. That's not available yet. I mean, you can go and set up automations to export segments out and via SFTP, but I understand that Journey Builder integration is certainly on the roadmap.
Jenna, was there anything you wanted to add?
No, I was just going to say I'm excited about getting started on it. I'm just now starting into some experimentation with it and some of the outputs from it myself, and so I hope to have more on it in the future. But Elliot pretty much covered exactly why I'm excited to be starting on it. So.
And you know, I have to say, there are two things I'm really impressed, and please, Salesforce, take lessons from Evergage. So number one is the documentation, which is outstanding and very comprehensive. And secondly is TTI, that's time to interactive. If you are using the interface, Interaction Studio interface, it's highly responsive. You click on something like an app or a feature in it, and it's there. You know, in Marketing Cloud, we have to wait up to 30 seconds for interfaces to load.
Sometimes
I'm talking
longer.
about Content Builder and Contact Builder and Cloud Pages and Journey Builder. And it's just, I literally lose up to hours a week just sitting there waiting for interfaces to load. So it shouldn't be that hard, surely. I'd just like to see more effort around making pages more performant and responsive.
Unperformant interfaces wouldn't be such a great advertisement for a real-time personalization anyway. So but what I'm seeing there, what's really great, as you mentioned, are the Einstein capabilities. So that's something that has been introduced with one of the releases this year within Interaction Studio, which mainly was now that it's switched to Evergage and these Einstein recipes and so on are integrated, where you also have the great opportunities to utilize the insights that you gain from Interaction Studio within other clouds like Sales and Service Cloud with the next best actions, etc. And from usability and the development effort, setting it up really requires development effort. So the setup process might be pretty intense with partners and developers from your side. But using the platform and setting up campaigns, that's pretty straightforward and something that marketers can do. So that's really easy to use with a plugin that you have in Chrome, where you have a visual editor setting up campaigns and stuff. So that's really a nice interface. But what you have to keep in mind, the setup is pretty developer intensive. So you need to write quite some code. But if the structure of your website changes, that can definitely break some of the stuff that has been implemented. So there also need to be internal guidelines that the teams are informed about changes, so they can verify if everything works. Just like you should do with everything else. But it's possible to separate data sets. So it's just like having a separate business unit for your QA. So that's also possible with Interaction Studio.
I think that ties in quite closely to one of the biggest frustrations that I think the majority of Marketing Cloud users have, is a lack of a way of having a dedicated development environment. You know, if there's website changes happening, you don't want to be putting that into your live systems. Unfortunately, with Marketing Cloud, you don't really have a whole lot of pre-prod type environments that you can have data going into. We probably all have our own ways of mitigating the risk of non-production data being dropped into something that, like Einstein, that starts making decisions based on pre-prod data flowing into it. So I think my wish list for next year includes a developer edition. I think that's the same for a lot of us and has been for years.
So feeding off of that last comment, I know we only have about 6 minutes, so I wanted to actually get your thoughts on things that you're hoping get improved from the Marketing Cloud platform as a whole. So I would love to start off with, I'm going to pick on Cameron, if you don't mind starting. And then Elliot, when you get to your turn, do you mind answering Jeremy's question? What happened to AMP Script Builder Scriptly?
Sure, and I had to.
All right, so
I'll just
okay,
I'll
so we'll.
There you go.
Oh,
it's kind of off topic, but yeah.
Okay, perfect.
No.
So yeah, let's go around the room and just give us your thoughts on what you're hoping. Any final thoughts that you want to share with our attendees and what you're hoping will get improved in 2021?
Sure thing. Kick things off. So I'm a huge data nerd, and I'm also a bit of a dev. So for me, AMP for email is a really cool thing to come in 2021 for Marketing Cloud. I've been playing around with it in the Google Developer Playground for about a year now, and it's so much fun. Its practicality for businesses will vary based on if you're B2C, B2B, if you're in high volume retail or low volume. There's a whole lot of use cases you could use. I think, as Elliot mentioned, that surveys are a great one. And data capture is a great one to start off with. I made a dad joke API because I could, and that's why I love it. It's an open sandpit kind of. You can have some fun with it. So I think AMP for email is going to change how the end consumer uses their inbox, especially on mobile, where those rich browsers that can use the AMP code will be able to jump in. Looking forward to that. Elliot mentioned it earlier in his piece as well, but I'll mirror that. Data residency for us Aussies is a big issue. Having to help customers with tokenized sendings or field level encryptions is just not a fun time for anyone. So the ability localized data, which means it removes those requirements for encrypted data for offshore storage. It would be a huge plus for the ecosystem down here, down under. It'd be great to see that feature come through, which I think, as Elliot mentioned, that partnership with Microsoft and some more local data centers may be on the horizon for 2021.
Who wants to go next?
Sure, I'll go. I think for me, the things I'm hoping for next year is hopefully more cloud page APIs to be made available to us. There's so much that we can do with Content Builder and so many other elements of the platform directly through the APIs, and cloud pages is just a little bit behind. And having a decent code repo of your cloud pages at any point is difficult unless you go in with that as a design at the beginning. You can't retroactively implement that very easily. So yeah, more cloud page APIs is probably high on my list.
Okay, next. I'm looking forward to the release of, I'm forward-looking statement, gonna spill the beans again, of the REST proxy, so that we have greater capability through the APIs and through the proxy, make it easier to write your code. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that release coming out next year. And also, for what I would like to see happen in the Marketing Cloud, I would like to see better documentation, and especially around some of the data points and data views and endpoints that we all use on a regular basis in our day-to-day work, like the push address data views and things like that. And on that note, someone mentioned Slack, so I'm going to bring it up real fast. The only way I can really see it really enhancing the Marketing Cloud right now, the Marketing Cloud specifically, is through the communities groups. I feel like if we get the community groups on Slack, and Gilda, I'm kind of piggybacking off of your idea here and expanding on it a little bit. I think we can open Marketing Cloud training up to the community and make it a little bit more accessible, make the Marketing Cloud more accessible to people who are just starting out, have no experience whatsoever, and want to learn. And I think there's been a huge hurdle there for a lot of people that are wanting to learn, and most of us on this call have been lucky enough to learn on the job. not everybody has that capability, and I'm hoping Slack kind of opens the community up a little bit and allows for that.
Okay, I'll go next. Something I'm really looking forward to is AMP support. That's AMP for email, and I've already gone and built a number of these on the pilot, creating effectively mini apps. A phone configurator, for example, where you can go and change the color of the phone and see that phone change, and perform math calculations to go and calculate the total based on what storage you selected. So I've done this and many others too. So I can't wait to see this GA. Some wish lists. Now, I have a love and hate relationship with Marketing Cloud. The bit I dislike is Profile Center. I'll just leave that there. I won't say any more. You know what I'm talking about. I'll just start crying. Secondly, dashboard. The Marketing Cloud dashboard, remove those journey templates that occupy 60% of the real estate above the fold. No one uses it. It's not what you do when you go log into Marketing Cloud. Oh, I'll go and select one of these default journey templates. Get rid of them. Make the dashboard more customizable. I want to be able to drag and drop different tiles based on how I'm using the platform. And lastly, something I really want to see some attention to, as I mentioned before, is that time to interactive. It's the load speed of waiting for interfaces to load. And these are web pages. This is really kind of somewhat embarrassing. Please look at ways to improve the load speed of Contact Builder and Journey Builder and Automation Studio. I could go on. Waiting up to 30 seconds for pages to load is really unacceptable. Sorry.
So I guess I'm gonna go next. So what I'd like to see is more self-service stuff. So like the setup interface that we've seen, that I think we didn't mention in that session, but we did in the morning session, where you can just activate features, control stuff for your business units, which previously required a support case, and as well as the behavioral triggers we covered, just enabling marketers to do more in the interface without having developers do that stuff or engaging with support. And yeah, I'll just add my emphasis on everything that Jason said. So the developer experience should be quite enhanced. So having version controls and an API to Cloud Pages, that would be on my wish list, definitely.
Well, I will make sure to share this awesome feedback to our internal folks. I want to take time to thank all of you for taking time out of your busy schedule, not only today, but for all of 2020. I mean, you guys were leading user group meetings, you're recording videos, you're writing thought leadership pieces, you're helping customers on Stack Exchange, Slack, and other social media channels. And, hats off to all of you. I really, really appreciate everything that you've done for the community. And I know there are some folks here that are wondering, so how the heck do I get in contact with this awesome group of SMEs? So what I will do in the follow-up email is I will provide all of your Twitter accounts, LinkedIn emails, along with links to some of your personal blogs. I hope you're okay with that. That way, the attendees can stay in touch with you guys. They can follow you, especially when you release some of these awesome content. So thanks again. I don't know if any of you have some last words you want to share, but I know I really appreciate being here with all of you.
Thank you, Gilda. And I want to echo the sentiment that you echoed, or that you said to us back at you. Without your support, a lot of us wouldn't be here. So thank you for being a driving force and a conduit to the Marketing Cloud for all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Gilda.
Yeah,
thank you all.
And I'm going to sneak on one last feature request, and that is SOAP to REST parity, please. Working with SOAP XML and REST JSON, and kind of having to pass these to different languages is just painful.
All right. And for anyone that's attending the call, be on the lookout. We have some amazing things coming out the rest of the year. I know the How to SFMC team, they have a couple of sessions coming up. I think, Elliot, are you doing a session? I mean, I'll get all this information and I'll put it in a follow-up email. But one of the things we discussed, so be on the lookout for that, as when Marketing Cloud does the release. I'm going to try to get this group together so that we can have a very similar discussion on some of the features and functionalities that were part of the release. So on that note, everyone, enjoy the rest of your day, evening, and thanks again for being part of this 2020 Year in Review panel.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Yes.
No
All
worries.
right. Mm-hmm.
Have a good
Bye.
Thanks, bye.